Hi, friends. So today we are tackling a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is alternatives to your 9 to 5 job. Now, I am only sharing with you alternatives that I have personally tried and been successful in myself. And I will also share a bonus one with you from the many clients that I have coached. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome back to Connect Collective, where we talk about living life intentionally through rediscovering who you are, what you want out of life, and how you're going to get it. So today we are talking about alternatives to your 9 to 5 job. And I have to tell you, one of the reasons that I'm doing this video is because I have seen tons and tons of videos where people, I'm pretty sure they've just gone onto ChatGPT and asked for a list of 9 to 5 alternatives, and they do a video about them, but they have no experience. And so really you're not getting anything but a lot of fluff. I want to give you actual facts on 9 to 5 alternatives that work. And I'm going to give you as much information in this video that I can. If you want me to drill down into any of the specific 9 to 5 alternatives, let me know and I'll do a separate video on each of the jobs that I'm telling you about today. So maybe you've been interested in finding an alternative to your 9 to 5, but you're too scared to try any of the ones that you've seen online. And I don't blame you, because there are a lot of people that are making wild claims about making a full-time salary doing some random job, but then you really don't have proof that you can make it happen. Yeah, that's pretty scary. So hopefully I can alleviate some of your fears today so that you'll stick your toes in and try a 9 to 5 alternative. Now, when I was in my traditional 9 to 5 job and I was suffering from burnout, one of the things that I was lamenting about all the time was a lack of time. Even when I wasn't at work, I was thinking about work. And it was like I was constantly on guard, waiting for the phone to ring or to receive an email that I had to reply to. So I tapped into my values and my core beliefs to come up with a list of things that I was looking for in my dream job. And this is the form that it took. I really wanted to engage in meaningful work that made an impact on other people's lives. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my friends and family, and I wanted to be there for my family when they needed me. I also wanted to be location independent. I wanted work that could be scalable so that if I wanted to expand a business or if I wanted to make more money, that was on me. I had control over that. I wanted to have a flexible schedule, and I wanted a job that allowed me to be creative. I have tons of creative ideas, and I wanted to be able to use these creative ideas in my work daily. So what I was searching for was time freedom. I wanted to have no cap on my salary. And I wanted to be able to take my work with me when I traveled, if I so desired. In other words, I wanted to be my own boss, doing my own thing, my own way. You may have the same dream, but you have absolutely no clue how to make it happen. And I'm here to tell you that it is totally possible. It just takes a plan. But to borrow a cliche, and cliche because it's true phrase, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. So I'm not going to gloss over and say it's so easy. You could be making $10,000 a month in 3 months. That is not this kind of video. This is the honest and true perspective of what it means to have an alternative to your 9 to 5. I'll give you the pros and cons of each of the alternatives that I'm sharing with you today, as well as how much money you can realistically make and how much time it's going to take you to get there. And stay till the end, because I'm going to share with you the #1 way you can pretty much guarantee that your side hustle can be successful, scaling it into a full-time career if you wish. The first thing I want to share with you are the parameters that I have when I'm looking for a business to start. These are the boxes that it must tick. #1, little to no startup costs. Why? Because if I'm going to start a business, I don't want to start it in debt, and I want it to be easy to start. Number two, little to no overhead costs. And finally, it has to be scalable. Scalable in a couple of different ways. I have to be able to expand the business if I want to, and I definitely 100% have to be able to scale the amount of money I'm making, my profit, my salary. And kind of a fourth one is I want to be able to run the business independently. I like the idea of solopreneurship. Now, if I grow a business really, really, really large, I don't mind having maybe one employee, but I like to be an independent operator. So let's get on to my number one most favorite side hustle to turn into a full-time business. And that is reselling. This is the job alternative that I leaned into when I was preparing to quit my job. I had a reselling business on eBay and I absolutely loved it. My store is on pause right now because my house is under construction, so it's kind of hard to have a reselling business right now, but I am getting back into it before the end of the year. Now, what I love about reselling is that you can start it today. You can start it for free and you can scale it pretty quickly. I was making $3,300 profit a month within 9 months. And y'all, you have to remember, I was doing this on a very, very part-time basis. I was a principal full time. I was working well into the evenings. Sometimes I was working on the weekends. I had a very busy schedule, but I was able to fit in reselling. And what I also appreciated about it is that it was flexible. As soon as I started my store, I made a sale the very first week. That was so exciting to me. And a little side note here is when you start a side hustle, if you have never started a business before, if you have never sold anything in your life before, when you sell something on your own without anybody's help and you get money coming in, I can't tell you the confidence boost that that gives you, that you're like, oh my gosh, I made my own dollar. That is something that will prove to you that if you want to leave your traditional 9 to 5 job and do something different, you can do it. You have proven to yourself that you don't need an employer to send you a paycheck. Okay. So I highly suggest reselling. And I have to tell you, you can sell just about anything. I started during the pandemic. So there was no going to a store to source items or to thrift. I had to start with what I had in my house. And I remember the very first thing that I sold were a pair of new with tags, Liz Claiborne walking shorts, and I sold them for $7. Now, I paid absolutely nothing for them. My mother-in-law had gifted them to me. And so I sold those, and it was so exciting to me that I made money off of something that was just laying around my house. So that kind of fueled the fire, and I kept going with it. And again, if you want a whole video just on reselling, I am more than happy to do it. It's something that I'm passionate about because I love thrifting. I love vintage. I love all that stuff. So I'm happy to share all the information with you. Okay. So let me know in the comments below if you want that video and I'll make it happen. And another thing that is really nice about reselling is that platforms like eBay, Mercari, Poshmark, etc., they provide the customers for you. One of the biggest struggles that people have when they're starting an online store, and I know because I have coached tons of people who are starting or want to start an online store, but they neglect to think about how they're going to get customers. You have to have a strong marketing campaign. You have to have a strong brand. You have to have a product that's in demand. And when you get on a platform like eBay, which was my chosen platform, then they're providing the customers for you. And that is the biggest hurdle that you will ever have to cross. So highly recommend. Now, what are the cons? I don't want to make it sound like there's It's so easy and anybody can do it without any work at all. No, everything takes effort, okay? One of the things that you have to consider is that sales can fluctuate based on season. Sales can fluctuate based on what's going on in the economy right now. It takes time to source product to sell. It takes time to take photos and list. It takes time to learn what sells, what doesn't sell, what sells quickly, what's a slow seller. It takes time. And finally, you know, every once in a blue moon, there's going to be somebody out there that's going to try to scam you. That's just the reality of doing business online. Now, I had clear-cut goals because I wanted to scale my profitability as quickly as possible because this was a side hustle that was going to help me get out of my job. But if I want to make a business full-time, I always give myself a solid 1 to 2 years to make it happen. Can you do it faster? Of course you can do it faster, but I wanted to do it without burning myself out more. We'll talk about money a little bit later on in the video. For now, let's go ahead and jump to side hustle number 2 that you can spin into a full-time business, and that is writing. If you have skills writing, or if you want to learn the skill of writing, you can get work. Now, some of the writing side hustles that I did and that I still do today are copywriting, resume writing, always in high demand, technical writing, formatting documents, and creating infographics. Now, all of the side hustles that I'm sharing with you are easy to start. And again, when I say easy, I don't mean that there's zero effort involved. We'll talk about that when we get to the cons in just a second. This one ticks all of my boxes. It's scalable, it's flexible, and it's always in high demand. The cons are you have to have basic writing skills or you have to be willing to learn them. It can be challenging to find consistent paying clients. Work can ebb and flow. Now, I personally started my writing business using a couple of different avenues. Number one, I told everybody and their mother what I was doing. So I had a couple of small businesses, friends who own businesses, or friends who had friends that own businesses, and they hired me to do technical writing and copywriting for them. Also, I was willing to volunteer. So I went to area organizations and I offered to provide them resume writing skills for their clients, as well as offer teaching their clients interviewing techniques. And I wound up working for an organization that had a clientele of women who were struggling. Maybe they were struggling financially, they were struggling to find a job, maybe they had gotten laid off recently. And I wrote a ton of resumes. I was writing probably 5 to 10 resumes a week. And I was coaching these women. I was teaching them how to interview confidently, how to answer sticky questions, and how to negotiate pay. It was so fulfilling. But what happened is people started sharing my name. Friends started sharing my name. And I started getting phone calls from people who are willing to pay me to write their resumes. I wound up writing resumes for executives, and I still do resume writing to this day. I scaled this business into working with small businesses who were either already established or just starting out. For the established businesses, I would help them write business plans if they didn't have one, and I would help them write employee manuals. And I helped several clients who were starting businesses write their business plans, write their marketing campaigns, pretty much put the whole business together. And that was also very fulfilling, and I still do it to this day. Side hustle number 3 is coaching. So like I mentioned before, it started out, I wanted to be a coach. I was passionate about it. But after I left my job, I was way burned out and I didn't want to jump into another job that felt like it was related to the job I had been doing. So that's why I volunteered. And that's why I was offering coaching services in the place or with the organization where I was volunteering. But eventually I leveraged my resume writing skills to offer coaching services to the clients for whom I was writing resumes. I would assist them with interview prep and negotiation of contracts. And I also use this to provide coaching to new small businesses. Now, I have a background in business, so it was a strong fit for me. Now, what are the pros and cons of coaching and consulting? It is easy to start. It is totally scalable and it is flexible if you set up your schedule right. What are the cons? You have to find consistent clients. Number one, you can only manage so many clients without driving yourself absolutely mad. Knowing that you can only handle so many clients at once, if a client ends services, or if for whatever reason you end a relationship with a client, you can take a significant financial hit. And you have to be able to prove that you can bring the results. You can make a substantial amount of money offering coaching and consulting services. Now, it can be really tricky to have consistent flow of money when it comes to coaching and consulting. This is an area where a lot of people struggle. In fact, I want you, just out of curiosity, to go through YouTube and I want you to look up videos on coaching. The majority of those videos are coaches coaching other coaches how to become coaches. It seems like a crazy circle to me. If it works for you, go for it. The amount of money that you can make coaching and consulting depends on a lot of variables, and we'll talk about salary a little bit later, but it depends on things like what is the area that you're serving in. Now, one of the good things about coaching and consulting is that you pretty much figure out how much you want to make, and then you design a plan to get you to that target. It takes time to build the clientele, but you build it by building trust. When people trust you, and you help them get results and you teach them how to get results on their own, they are going to share your name with everybody and they will use you again. Always set a fair price. And as you gain more experience, increase your rates accordingly. Now, before we get into salary, let's talk about our bonus side hustle, and that is home services. What is home services, you may say? It is literally anything to do with the home. So it can be landscaping, it can be painting, it can be house cleaning, it can be handyman, it can be a whole host of things. Now, I personally have not done this side hustle, but I have worked with people who have gone into home services and have done it very, very successfully. So, what are the pros and cons? Like the others, it is easy to start, it's scalable, and it's flexible. The cons are you have to go out and find clients. The services might be affected by what's going on in the economy. And very importantly, you have to be aware of state and county licensure laws. So with the licensure laws, they vary. For example, I live in Florida. In the county where I live, you must be licensed to paint a house. Even inside a single room, you have to have a license. However, in the very next county over, you don't need a license to paint. And you don't need a license for other things. So make sure you know your state and county laws before you dive in too deep to a side hustle that you can't legally do. That's a big no-no. Now, don't let any of the cons that I've mentioned to you dissuade you. Remember, you are talking about an alternative to your 9 to 5. Anything that you put together is going to take effort. All you need is a solid plan. If you want me to teach you how to put together a solid plan, drop it in the comments below. I'll do a video on what I teach other people, how I have them figure out What is the best side hustle for me? What can I do? What can I do with my experience? What can I do if I don't have any experience? I would love to do a video on that. And I'll touch base a little bit about how to find clientele here. But if you want a fuller video on that, I can do one on that as well. So when it comes to finding clients, to be quite honest, mostly what I did to start my businesses is I started by offering free services, but in exchange for a review. And depending on the side hustle, in exchange for possibly talking to future clients. This is what got my foot in the door with writing. And again, if you treat those free jobs like they are paying you top dollar, and you ask people to give you a review, you ask people to spread your name around, if they know of anybody who needs a resume, to share your name, you will get work. And the same is true when it comes to those home services. I had a couple that I knew very, very well. They started a business in house cleaning, and they told me, Michelle, it was so easy to start. And in fact, we can't keep up with the demand. They were looking for other people to come in and assist them with their home cleaning business. And here is the number one secret that is going to keep you working, no matter what side hustle you choose. And that is doing quality work. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, that doesn't seem like such an edge, but it is. I am telling you that very, very few people, a small percentage of people, do well at the side hustle they have chosen. And then they complain about not doing well and not making money. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's continue on with this couple that I was talking about first, and then I'll share a personal example. So this couple was begging for people to come in, learn their business, and eventually they were going to sell that business to the person that they brought on. They could not find someone who was willing to do the quality work. They would find someone who maybe at first did a great job cleaning, but as soon as they weren't watching, as soon as they weren't checking up on the work, the quality of work started to slide. Now, how could they, in good conscience, turn their business over to that person in the future, knowing that if they weren't watching, that the quality was going to slide? This couple has spent so much time building relationships with their clients that they couldn't bring themselves to turning over the business to someone who didn't care like they did and wouldn't continue to do quality work. So guess what? They wound up abandoning the business. They already had established clientele. They already had paying clients. That's just to let you know that there are businesses available out there. You know, Cody Sanchez talks about those businesses, the boring businesses, all the time. So home services is kind of the boring business, right? But it's a great niche to get into. From my personal experience, when I had my reselling business, everybody said, oh, you can't get into reselling. It's saturated. And I would read comments on videos of people saying, there are too many people doing eBay now. You'll never succeed. You can't make money doing it anymore. Well, you know what? Those people were spending more time online complaining than they were working. I did everything in my power to get better at what I was doing, learning as much about the business as I could, and improving with every single listing. And that is how I scaled my business in 9 months to $3,300 profit a month. I get work as a resume writer and a coach because I have the success of my clients at the forefront of my mind. I am going to do more than they ever ask me to do because I want them to succeed. And that's why I get continued work. So just reiterating, I'm telling you from my personal experience and by talking to people in various industries, high quality work is a rarity. It is a diamond. There are tons of people out there right now who want to be paid a premium providing crap work. If you provide exceptional outcomes and you do a little bit of marketing, you will work and you will be paid well for it. So talking about getting paid, let's look at the salaries you can make. So again, the numbers I'm sharing with you are legit. I don't want you to think that if you start a business today, you're going to be making this amount of money this month. It takes time. The time, effort, and quality of the work you provide and commit to consistently greatly affects your outcomes. So if your mindset is that I'm going to be the very best and I'm going to commit to improving all the time, then I would say if you give yourself a year, most definitely you can achieve these numbers for part-time. If you give yourself a year to 2 years, those full-time numbers can be achieved. So I think that oftentimes people don't scale these businesses to this level because they get into it because they think it's going to be easy, or they just learn enough to get started, but then they don't have a business plan to back it up. If you don't have a plan, how can you succeed? What are your targets? How do you know you're hitting those targets? How do you know how to fill gaps? How do you know how to identify gaps? If you've never had a business before, how do you know how to create a strong business? And if you want a video on that, I am more than happy to share that information. That is not something I'm going to gatekeep. I'm just sharing the info. So, have you tried any of these side hustles? And if so, what have your experiences been? Were you successful? If so, tell us how. If not, if you struggled with it, tell us how you struggled so maybe we can give you some suggestions. Remember, friends, we are all a body of knowledge, and when we share information with one another, we make one another stronger. So is there any more information I can provide you on any of the side hustles that I've shared above? Do you have any questions? If you're looking for an alternative to your 9 to 5, would you try any of these? Or are you curious how to figure out how you can take your skills and find another alternative that I haven't discussed today? Share that with me below. I'd be happy to do a video on it. I believe that everyone deserves a happy and productive life, and you can have one. You just have to have a plan. So if you've gotten value out of this video, please give it a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. And if you would like to watch another video on this topic or similar topics, click on the one showing on your screen now. And as always, friends, until next time, I'm sending you all peace, love, and harmony.